Because this is the screenshot. They always grab the first thing we're doing as a screenshot. Hi, Facebook, YouTube. Let us know if this is actually working. Shady, countdown 5. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You guys, I swear. Uh, mm, uh, Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to This Is Jen, episode 66, recorded live here in our studio in the Austin, Texas area. We record this podcast now live. Well, I said it was for the month of May, but now it's for the month of forever and ever.
Whoa.
We do this podcast live. It's easier for me. I like to be able to see your feedback. I don't respond. I don't do what a lot of people do and respond to every single comment in the moment, because it is played back. I do release it, of course, as a regular podcast, and I want you guys to be able to enjoy it even when you are not watching it live. So, but this is so much more fun for me. Isn't it better? Life is better since we did this live. It's little more stressful to like get it going, but I love just having the set time. Very excited about that. We have a lot of great stuff to cover today, including the fact that I'm going to Tampa I leave day after tomorrow for Tampa, doing some shows there at the Tampa Improv, and then I go to Omaha. Now, you guys know from the last episode of this podcast that this was very last minute. 2 weeks ago, I think, was it? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I had no idea we were even doing a tour. But this is, when you're coming out of COVID, everything is the Wild West. It's the Wild West. You can't plan things like you used to. You guys remember with my Naughty Corner tour, it was organized. It was we had tickets on. Well, even before I put tickets on sale, you guys knew weeks ahead of time. It was like, put this on your calendar. Here are all the cities and all the dates and all the locations so you guys can do your planning. And with this one, it was like, boom, get your Tampa and Omaha tickets. I didn't know I was going there either. And so what we are doing, we're making you guys my promotional machine. And thank you for that. Thank you guys for you guys are my marketing staff. Help me out. I need your help. Look, okay, just keep this between us, okay? Do you think I can count on them?
I think you can.
I think I can count on them to keep this between us. So we want comedy clubs to be like booking moms of 6 who have stuff all over YouTube about how they were like raised atheist and now they're Catholic. That's a great idea. That works out.
That's what we need.
And even when we only give them 2 weeks notice, it is amazing, and their fans show up and their fans are great. I don't have the lead time that I would normally need to sell tickets. So to send a message to the comedy club world that supporting these atheist to Catholic mom of 6 people is a fantastic idea. If you are in the Tampa or Omaha area, well, first of all, if you're not, but you know people in those areas, tell them that I'm coming there. But we will give you $10 off. I think it is off of each ticket, actually. I asked for I was like, what is the best deal you can give my people? If you tell 5 people or more about the show, like tell your Facebook group, tell your family group text, you can use a coupon code that is $10 off. I think it's each ticket. And if you already bought tickets and then you go tell 5 people, email the contact info on my website, email Chapel. I am personally PayPaling people the refund. Like out of my money, I am PayPaling and Venmoing people refunds to thank them for doing that if they already bought tickets, because the clubs can't do it retroactively. So go check that out, jfcomedytour.com. See, that domain was registered before we chose the name for the tour, jfcomedytour.com. And the code is there. The code is there on the website, jfcomedytour.com. Be my marketing arm, since we are doing this on last minute notice. Today we will talk about, I'd like to talk about UFOs again, but I think I'll push that till the next episode. But I'm just going to say, okay, look, I'm just going to say, everyone telling me, well, watch the documentary about UFOs. Like, you don't know. Weird things have been happening. I don't deny that weird things are happening. Would never deny that. I am more likely to believe it's a poltergeist. See, well, you guys know me. I'd be like, it's a demon. How about that? What? Give me a documentary about demons. I'll watch that. But it's not UFOs, guys, because like you can't travel faster than the speed of light, and there's nowhere that the UFO people could live within like 30 light years, and like you can't even get close to traveling at the speed of light. So like how did it take them 70,000 years to get here? Did they float their planet over here so that they could have all their resources to make the trip? It might be a demon, it might be a poltergeist. It's not UFOs, guys. And I think that's a good way to start this show. I do. I think, well, actually, you know what? I don't have to scratch it. I don't have to hit that next week because I just solved this. Everyone can stop talking about UFOs. They can't make the 70,000 year trip. They can't.
Get it through your head.
Right. But the documentary is creepy. Maybe it's a demon. Don't rule that. Creepy music. Maybe it's a demon. It's not a UFO. It's not aliens. It's just not, guys. It's not. Yeah, so jfcomedytour.com is the website.
Jot that down.
Yeah, I'll do my UFO set. It's an hour. Actually, it is all new material. All new material mostly new material on the tour. But you know what? It'll be a UFO set. It'll be a all UFO set. Okay, so let's talk about, there are two things that I'm inspired to share with you all on this fine day. There was a thing going around like some of my circles about it was about what traditional, like what a good traditional housewife looks like. And there was kind of the feeling of like, it was sort of it was a lot of it in the religious world. But look, women of all faiths are crazy, especially when it comes to motherhood. Like, but they're all crazy. And so there was this idea floating around, and some people were debating it on the internet, that traditional, like if you want to look at this sort of historical, what good women did throughout history, not the disaster of women that we have now, but like what good women did historically. And the moms today, they're lazy, they're falling short, they're not getting it done. But people on Twitter, they know what the women of history, they know how they got it done. Just the good, solid Christian women of old. They knew how to get it done. While I pull up a video that I am going to use to illustrate my impenetrable point, Shady, would you see why Instagram, the light is like going on and off on Instagram? See if you can do anything with that. So you'll see the light is like, it is getting weird. Okay, so I am going to do a screen share with you. There's no sound. You don't need to worry about that, Shady. I'm going to do a screen share that shows you a guy. Now, I don't know why he did this. He is a redheaded gentleman. For those of you listening on audio, I will describe it. So there is a redheaded gentleman who built his own like old school clothes washing system. Now, this gives us some idea of the work that women traditionally, historically did on a daily basis. So let me share the screen here. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Sharing screen. Okay. So this guy has this old school laundry system where, and those of you watching on video can see it, but those of you on audio, it's like, well, Shady, describe what he's doing. There's a crank, right?
Oh, he's got like a washboard.
Yeah, a washboard. Yeah, so just describe everything you're seeing here.
Cranking.
Yeah.
Like a pasta roller for laundry.
Excellent. It's a pasta roller for laundry. And notice, Shady, so he's doing one item at a time. And then he has to take each individual item and hang it out to dry. He has to take each item of clothing, crank it through the pasta roller, and then hang it out to dry. Do you see how time consuming this is? So this is pretty close to how women washed clothes back in the day. I was very fortunate. I've told you guys before, my grandfather was born in 1914. He lived to be 100 years old. We had many years with him. And keep in mind, someone who lived in 1914, I mean, when he was in his 20s, he knew people who were born in the mid 1800s. So he was really a wealth of information about just a lot of things about the old way people did things. And I talked to him, especially once I started having kids, I was really overwhelmed. And I would talk to my grandfather about what things were like back in the day, especially for moms, and I always felt very guilty. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like the moms of old just, they were spending all this time with their kids and things like that. And he pointed out, he said, women were, the work that women had to do back in the day was an enormous amount of work. I mean, so think about it. So when we do laundry now, well, especially if you do laundry the way I do, you take a mass of clothes. Shady, do you think most people separate lights and darks? Is that, leave a comment. If you're watching this live, leave a comment. Do you separate lights from darks? I bet everyone's going to say yes, right?
I don't do it, but people tell me I should, and I still don't.
Yeah. So Shady, she lives on the edge like I do. You can't tell independent women
but
like
I
us.
have a lot of black clothes, so like what?
See, well, right. Well, yeah, you're right. So I'm wearing a very white shirt today. I don't know. I would just wash it on cold. Yeah. Okay, but leave a comment. I'm actually very curious. Leave a comment. Do you separate whites from darks? Okay, I'm getting yes. Everyone's saying yes. Everyone is saying yes. That's what I thought. And you should. Excellent idea. I recommend
other
it.
People's clothes, but not mine.
Yeah, not right. Yeah. I just feel like, I don't want to use the phrase "ain't nobody got time for that," but ain't nobody got time for that. It's just one thing, and I just dump it in. But I will say I wash it on cold. Does that redeem me?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So look, the point is, we've got our washing machines and our washer dryers. And women back in the day, there was no separating lights from darks, really, because you were cranking it all through the. Well, I guess you put it in one pot. Maybe they did separate lights from darks. Like there would be a big pot.
Laundry pot.
Yeah, in my grandfather's mother, she would take lye soap. Man, they'll tear up your hand. She would take lye soap, and what am I doing here, Shady? That
like
crunch, like yeah. What do you call that when you put your hands kneading it? Thank you, Shady, the producer extraordinaire here. Kneading it. She would knead the clothes and then crank it through the clothes crank, and then hang it out to dry. Okay, but now think about it. What if it's raining? Well, that's how you dry your clothes. Think about this. What if it's freezing? What if it's super cold? What if it's 20 degrees outside? Well, right, but even in your house, houses weren't insulated. And so you would have to find space. Well, yeah, right. That would be how it would work out. You would just find space near the fireplace or something. And so, but you had to plan that, and it was a big deal. And then a point that I ever so eloquently made in one of the very first episodes of this podcast is, so if your kids in 1840 wanted chicken nuggets, how do you think you got those chicken nuggets?
You had to nugget them yourself.
We just made nugget a verb. This podcast, it breaks new ground every day. You nugget them yourself. Yeah. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Yep. You go out and it's Clucky the chicken, and you're like, here, chicken, here, chicken. You yes. Nugget them yourself. And so, so for me, feeding my kids lunch, and by the way, and I started leaving them to fend for themselves at pretty early ages. It was like, look, you are old enough now to get your own lunch. Like, I'll do dinner, but you got to do lunch. You're 2 now. I feel like you can handle this. But let's say, when I would feed my kids stuff, I mean, it's like you throw the little amorphous, shapeless, bread encrusted things, you just throw it into the microwave and you're done. But women back in the day, the way, I'm getting the bag of dino nuggets, mm-hmm. and, getting a knife to cut it open. You know what moms would have to do with the knives back in the day? Yeah, it was,
bad.
It was bad. It was gruesome.
Blood everywhere.
Right. And you're covered in feathers and blood, and all for some chicken nuggets.
Is it worth it?
Right. Well, right. I know we would have been a vegan family. We would have been nuggetless. That, man, I will just tell you, because some people are like, well, if you'd lived a frontier lifestyle, you would have just figured it out. No, I wouldn't have. I would have died. You know how you hear, like, you'll see these like Victorian novels where these delicate women like die at age 18. It's like, well, she went for a walk in the rain and now we're at her funeral and we're wearing all this Victorian garb. That for sure, it would have been like, Jen, is, it was too much. This life was too much. She knew that she was destined to live in a different time. And she checked out pretty quickly, actually. So no, I would not have just gotten it done. So all this is to say, friends, mothers throughout human history were very, very busy. And so when people float this idea, and this why I need to seek counseling about why this triggered me so much. But this woman was kind of implying, she was like, well, um, since I love my children, unlike the rest of you,
Hello.
I choose to like focus on my children all day, every day, like the good Christian women of old. I'm a traditional woman. What can I say? I'm not like you harpies, not like them, not like the bad women. I'm a traditional woman. Oh, really? Well, if you're a traditional woman, then you should be booked up doing stuff like 10 hours a day, like for all of your daylight hours. Cause that was the other thing is, you can't get much done by candlelight. And so in pre-electricity societies, I mean, anything you had to get done, the washing, the chopping chicken's head off, the cooking and the getting food from your farm and like getting the vegetables and all the animal chores and all that sort of thing. You had to have it done before nightfall because there a lot of that stuff you just can't do when it is pitch dark and all you have is some little weak lantern.
No.
And another thing, and this matters because that I did, some people could be thinking Jen is on, here we go again. But this is going to change your paradigm. It's going to change the way you see the world. Fuel for lamps was also expensive. So you might think, well, whatever, I just get 50 lamps, and I'd be living my best life with the lamps on, And no, because that it was also expensive to run your lamps, to have those fires going. So people, women and men, were very busy during the day. They worked their fingers to the bone during the day. And especially that society was much more agrarian at the time, that people didn't live in city structures where like the man grabs his suitcase and goes off to work and then the little lady stays up. Like that didn't come about till like well, no one had jobs in the 30s. So really it was after World War II. So it was like late 40s, 50s, that you started to have these societies where the man goes off to work with his suitcase and the little lady stays home. And notice that is when you start to see kind of the feminist, anti-housewife uprising. Notice you don't hear much about that in history until the 1950s. And I think it's because the economy changed, and there was a very, starting in the 50s. I know I'm losing people, Shady. I know it, but this is important. Starting, and then she
Where's
didn't
my
argue.
lasso?
Yeah, right. No, but this is good. This is good. So, okay, stick with me. Everyone take a deep breath. Stick with me. Starting in the 1950s, the economic structure changed so that it really was the case that like the man was going off, he had community, he had work that was like very clearly defined as work, and a woman would stay home and her work felt less valuable to her. I'm not saying it was, but it felt less valuable because it was less life or death than it was like 200 years ago and before what women did. And it's not a coincidence that you see, the what's the famous the famous book about women who were miserable and on pills in the 50s. It's two words. It's it's Stepford Wives. It was like Stepford, like that all started in that era. And there's, if women were so miserable staying home with kids, why do we not hear about it until the 1950s? Well, it's because that's when our communities started to break down, economic structures changed. The point is, for those of you listening to the replay, I'm sure you have now skipped forward, but you've skipped all that to see what point I'm making. And here it is. Do we have a drum roll? Did we scare? Well, you could do scary. When I'm making a point, actually scary music
Scary's
might be
good.
better.
Right.
This is in lieu of a drum roll. Here's my point. So when people talk to you about, like, they give you this idea that women, especially Christian women back in the day, the good Christian women of 1800, they were sitting on the floor and they were playing blocks with their kids and just staring at them all day, and they had 100% of their attention. It's false. That is 100% false. women have always been super busy during daylight hours, super busy. Children are not evolved to have their mother's single solo focused attention all day during daylight hours. If a woman had done that, in the 99.99% of human history leading up to right now, they would have died. They would have died because she had a lot of work to do to keep people alive. If she wasn't out there killing the animals with her knife and chopping them up and frying them up for food, well, they didn't eat. They didn't eat. If she wasn't taking care of slopping the hogs and
do that.
and milking the cows.
Yes.
And what else? What
The
else do
laundry.
people do
We're
on
doing the
farms?
laundry, right?
It's
Oh, the
yeah.
farms.
You would never believe it, but I actually come from a long line of farmers on my Texan side. I know it's very hard to believe. So whatever, pulling the things out of the ground, like all of that, they were very busy with that.
Everything farm.
Everything, but yeah, all the farm stuff, they were very busy. And so this idea that women were meant to be the solo entertainment director for their children, people just pulled that right out of their hats.
Okay.
Out of their
I almost
hats.
said something else.
Yeah, that's I mean, we try to make this a podcast you can listen to with your kids in the car. I wouldn't say we always succeed. They pulled that right on out of their hats. This idea, because when women only started to have time for that, when our economic systems developed to the point that you could have that you could bring an income that was not directly tied to like grueling physical labor. Let me put it this way for anyone I've lost. Marketing jobs, and I've worked in marketing, I respect them. Marketing jobs didn't exist before the modern economy. No one was like, I'm a marketing manager in 1700. What the vast majority, it's like you had some lords who were very rich, and they had their wealth, and then they had a bunch of serfs. And so you had like the rich people who sat around and counted their gold coins, and they didn't work except, I mean, it is kind of a full-time job to like invade other kingdoms and, steal other people's lands. And so they stayed busy with that. But mostly it's like they counted their money, fought some wars and stuff. And then the serfs worked their fingers to the bone on the land. And then like maybe you had your own farm or your own property. And that was like a lot of people's lives. Like there wasn't the middle class like we have it today, where people are like, I can go into an office and think and get paid to do that. The thinking class, of which most listeners of this podcast and most people on Twitter making women feel bad about what kind of mothers they are, that's all the thinking class. No one had time for this in human history, and that's new. And so we are saying that it's a traditional thing for mothers to like sit on the floor with blocks and stare at their children for 10 hours a day. They've never had time for that. You're whole cloth making that up. And this paradigm that you are choosing to do in your life, which is totally fine if you want to do that, if you're able to, if that works for your family, that really good. If that's amazing, if you can do that. But it is absolutely ahistorical. That has never happened in history. And you know what I called them? This is in one of the early episodes, I made the point, there weren't stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads, or like work outside the house husbands. Why don't we have that? Like, and I used to do that when I'd be like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and this is my husband. He's a work outside the home dad, because I want an equal paradigm here. So everyone before the modern economy pretty much was what is this acronym? Was a TNDTP. Everyone was all parents were a TNDTP. They weren't SAHM. They were TNDTPs. Try not to die today, parents. That's what they all were. They were all try not to die today parents. They were very busy all day, every day. And so I think we're, this my comedy has become known for my I always like to work in a little bit of evolutionary psychology. I think there's a huge demand for that. I think it's a hot topic. Glad that it's something I can be known for. And so I think that when women feel kind of stifled when they're staying home with kids, as I did for over a decade, I think when women feel a little stifled and maybe feel like they'd like to get something else going on, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's, like selling a little something on the, I mean, like essential oils. God, what is wrong with this? Shady and I are troubled people. Just disregard everything
She
we think
sells
and
Avon.
say. Avon, well, or like Young Life,
Avon
Young
is
Living.
still a
What's the
thing.
oils?
Right.
Like,
Young
that's what I
Living.
meant. That was an MLM reference, guys. Please, everyone, pull yourselves together. Selling a little essential oils on the side, or like having a hobby or just doing something that involves you having large blocks of time that is not directly hands-on parenting. Yeah, you're evolved to want that because your primal brain, is like, what are we have too much time on our hands. This is dangerous. Like, aren't we all going to die? Aren't we all going to die because you are not, actively engaged in some sort of work, broadly defined, doesn't have to be paying work, but like your primal brain, I think, wants that as a woman. But yet women get shamed when they're like, yeah, I had some great childcare options come up. And so I thought I would take kind of a part-time gig over here or whatever. Um, that's actually a much more natural way to do things. And if you desire that, women have all this guilt about desiring that. They feel guilty that they even desire to go get a part-time job or a full-time job or whatever. It's not something to feel guilty about it. That's actually a totally natural way to live. And you guys know that I also firmly believe that if you're able to get some sort of childcare help, whether it's, you trade off with some neighbors or something, or you can afford to hire someone or whatever, that is actually a much closer way to live to like the traditional village model than what we have today, than women trying to do it all on their own. So that next time, if you're a mom, if you have mom friends, next time you hear people trying to imply that the traditional Christian women of old, and they sat down and they played with their kids all day. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They were busy. They were very, very busy all day long. I think I'm going to do a sketch about that.
I think you should.
Why? I am. No one else does. No other comedians are doing these topics. I will say that no other comedians are doing these kinds of topics that I do, and I don't know whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, so speaking of sketches and the things that I put on social media, so you guys might have heard that Ariana Grande got married. Or do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the singer Ariana Grande, she got married. You guys have to see this picture. This picture, it elicits some really strong feelings in me. It really just I I struggle with this picture a lot because of my own issues, and I will show you why. So so this is the picture. What it describe it, Shady, for our audio only listeners?
She's being scooped up, she's being held, kissed on the neck.
Yeah.
A little veil out.
But look at
Kinda
how
smiling.
petite she is.
She's
Like, okay,
very
so
teeny.
she's in her wedding dress, and her husband has scooped her up. Like it's like how I hold my cat, like just scooped her. Yeah, scooped her right on up. And
She's a little pillow.
right, no, not even pillow. I mean, she's so like,
Petite.
yeah, there's nothing lumpy,
Pillows aren't always lumpy.
What?
They're not always lumpy.
Well, yeah, if you say she looked like a pillow, it doesn't imply she's like got.
She's light. Like feathers are in pillows. She's light.
So we have different word associations here. You say pillow, I think lumpy, and you think light.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good to know. So you can see this on Facebook and YouTube. So she just looking not like a pillow, just very tiny, looking very tiny, and her husband just scoops her up like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Now, Shady could have this in her life. Shady is petite. And so I just think I don't get to experience that, guys. I don't get the life experience of my husband just swooping me off my feet. If I had wanted to recreate this picture, if I had wanted to do a wedding picture like this, we would need a forklift. We'd need a lever and pulley system. I mean, we'd have we need to get an engineer involved. we need to get an engineer involved if I wanted a picture like this for my wedding. And they'd have to load test it. You know, they'd be like, all right, we've got some straps on the ceiling. And the forklift will be over here and let's load test it. Because I'm taller. I'm taller than my husband, like by a lot. And you know, like wearing heels, like it just wouldn't have worked. I don't get the swept off my feet petite experience. So so this weekend I went to Nashville for a wedding. Aaron Weber, the comic, you guys saw him a little bit on the Naughty Corner tour. I want you to make sure you're following him. Real Aaron Weber is his handle on all social media. It is Weber with one B. I love him. I'm really good friends with his wife Lucy. She is amazing, and we just had a great time. So I went out to Nashville, and I don't go to a whole lot of weddings, so this was a very exciting thing. And so I debated whether to wear heels. I am 6 feet tall, and my husband is 5'9", and that is in flat feet. I'm 6 feet tall. And so I got this dress. Here, I'll show it to you guys on Facebook and YouTube. Can you see that? Yeah, yeah. Okay, you guys can see that. So I got this dress, and I love it. I got it. This is not an ad. It's not an ad in any way. I got it from a place called Unique Vintage, I think.
Yeah, I've ordered from them before too.
Yeah, they are good. Again, not an ad. I just found them. I think this dress was like $70. I mean, as a wedding dress goes, that is very reasonably priced. And I love the vintage silhouettes. I'm so happy. So Unique Vintage is where I got it. And you guys know I did the whole Rent the Runway thing. I got these really expensive Rent the Runway dresses, and I stuck with my Unique Vintage dress, which was like, if you pay retail, like half the cost. Yeah, it was so cool. So, but you can see in the picture, so I had these tan high heels and they looked great with it, kind of a beige colored high heels, but they were very high. And so I said, I just said, like, I like the way I look in heels. And I made the grave mistake of asking Twitter, and I asked them a couple weeks ago, is it rude? Is it rude to wear heels and make yourself 6'4" as a woman? And because Twitter is the app that you can count on for people just finding new ways to be horrible every day, a lot of people actually did say, yeah, it's rude. Why would you want to do that? It's a horrible idea. But and see, this is the thing. This is the great trial of my life is I I like wearing heels. I like that look, but it makes me a giantess. That's actually a word, by the way, giantess. Uh-huh. It's like giant, but for the ladies, it makes me a giantess when I wear heels. And so I really debated, like, should I wear flats and not feel like they look good with this dress, or should I wear heels and be vastly taller than my husband? So you can see in the picture, how much taller would you say? How much taller do I look than Joe Shady for our audio listeners? I mean, like, what part of my face does the top? Yeah, if I were standing up straight,
it'd be a foot at least.
I think it really is. What part of my face would the top of Joe's head be?
I think
even
your
with
chin would be at the top, like near the top of his head.
Yeah.
Like right here.
Yeah. So look it up. You can look it up on Facebook, on YouTube. Yeah, I actually think if I were to stand up straight, the top of Joe's head would be certainly at my mouth, maybe at my chin. And I got someone on Twitter. Let's see. I'll actually, while I'm sharing my screen, I will show you. This person said, personally, I've never understood why a woman who's already as tall as you must be 6 feet. If those 4-inch heels make you 6'4", why would you want to be taller? Is it for comfort or fashion? And then he says, well, if your husband's okay with it, why not, I guess. And it's good to encourage women to get their husband's permission, for what they do. So personally, so he says, why would you want to make yourself taller as a woman?
I don't think it's about making yourself taller, though.
Thank you. What is Shady? What is it? Tell us.
It
Tell
is
the good
about
man
the
what it's about.
fashion,
It's
for
about the
one.
fashion.
And clunky, like flats feel clunky when you're in a dress.
I know.
Does
I
it
mean,
feel
yeah,
weird?
and like if you want to be comfortable, that's fine. But
I just like the classic heel look.
I know, and the reason I bring this up is
Of
because
course, it's fashion.
I think a lot of us have something like this. Now, most people are not the giantess that I am. Most people do not deal quite with my
Yeah, I'm 5 foot.
exactly. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I'm 6 feet tall. Shady's 5 feet tall. So like if I wear heels and take picture with
I have
Shady
to wear heels
not
too.
in heels, it's just weird.
Disaster.
I look like I'm a Yeti. I look like people should be taking shaky
I look
cell
like I'm
phone.
5. Like,
Well,
what are
no,
you
no, it's
talking
you look fine. I look like it's like I came out of the woods. I look like I crawled out of the woods and I should be like, walking like, rah, like I don't even speak English. Like, rah. Like that's what I look like when I take pictures with normal people like Shady. If I have heels on and they don't.
I'm not average.
And well, now I know plenty of people who are 5 feet tall. I don't know any women. I don't think I know any women who are 6 feet tall and flat feet. And I wear size 12 shoes. I mean, you guys know my actually fun fact. I had to have shoes, so I can't just go to the store and pick up shoes when I'm traveling. And so I some of you guys know the comic Angela Johnson. I had to have shoes delivered to her manager's house. I'm dear friends with Jackie. She's amazing. I love her so much. I had to have shoes delivered to her house for her to bring to me because I couldn't. I was traveling and I cannot just like go to the local shoe store and buy shoes. So all this is to say, we all have something like this, some part of your physical appearance that people will tell you don't do that. Like don't like if you're a full figured woman, people might tell you, that dress is a little tight fitting. You might not look like Ariana Grande, who's all of like 80 pounds or something. So maybe you should, what they'll do what they do to me. They'll be like, why don't you wear a burlap sack, until you get down to a size 2, hide your head in shame and just throw a tarp over yourself and call it a day. That's what they do with me. They're like, no fun shoes for you, you Bigfoot,
They're wrong.
Sasquatch. You don't get.
Sasquatch?
Oh, did you know that was Bigfoot was so my name in elementary school? Like new kids did not know my actual name. They only knew me as Bigfoot. That was and on the let's see the we took the Teams test when I was a kid. It stood for like Texas Education, whatever. They said they were like, so you put your official name when you're filling out the official form that goes to the state. And then they said like nickname. And I guess it's if a kid is named Catherine and you call them Kate for that. But I thought, okay, I'll just go with my nickname. So I actually put Bigfoot on the official test form that goes to the state. And then it came back. It was like the substitute teacher was like, Jennifer Bigfoot Bishop. It was great. So that was like actually that was the nickname for me back in the day. And so people tell me that I can't and shouldn't wear fun shoes. And again, a lot of you have that. Like if you're like super skinny, people will tell you don't wear this, don't wear that. And I think, and I'm here to be a leader in this. Like you have to Lizzo the situation. Look at what Lizzo did. Lizzo really kind of changed the culture because she was like, my whole life people have told me as a full-figured woman what I can and can't wear. So here's a thong. How about that? How about here I am at an NBA game in a thong? And did you know she did that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, and some people were like, okay, we support that, but it's kind of hot and like you're like sitting on the seat just in your little string G-string thong. So some people were like, is it, Lizzo, we feel you, it's just the germs, like maybe like are you gonna, because this is before COVID obviously, like are you gonna Purell the seat, or maybe you could make a statement. Anyway, the point is Lizzo was like, I am going to wear things that excite me, and I am going to wear things that are fun, and I will dress to my taste. Because I really think that is what fashion is. And I think that what should be everyone's goal in fashion is to honor the person who you really are. And I might say like wearing if the only thing you have on the bottom is like a G-string thong, I might not say that's fully honoring of your human dignity, as a daughter of the king. But I like the spirit. I like the spirit of what Lizzo does, because for those of us who do not have a natural sense of fashion, I've no natural sense of like what fashion is for and how people would do that. And it's like, oh, you combine a sassy belt with some stripes. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. To me, the highest and best use of clothes, whether it's shoes, whether it's your dress, whether whatever, is that it's about figuring out who you really are and looking in the mirror and saying, yeah, this is me. This is me. This is actually me. And I'm not saying I'm the most beautiful woman on planet Earth. I'm not even saying I'm like, like if a modeling agent is in this room, I'm not saying they'll pick me or anything. It's not about that. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's not about looking like a supermodel. It's about looking like me. Like I knew a girl in college. She was like super full figured. Like, I mean, she even said like she had some health issues because of this. Her weight was, it was at an unhealthy level, but she Lizzo'd it. I mean, she would always wear these beautiful bright dresses. I mean, like bright yellow with floral patterns, throw a hat on just for fun, put a flower in her hair, and she'd wear heels. And it was like, you look at her and you're like, I am so jealous of her beauty and of her confidence. And like whenever she walked into a room, everyone in the room, every single person in the room was like, wow, like I wish I had what she had. Like that woman knows who she is. She is on fire. She's not hiding any part of herself. She's just like presenting her true, authentic self. And she has found a way to clothe herself that is honoring of that. And so that is my philosophy when it comes to clothes. And for me, that is why I go ahead and wear the heels. That's why I go ahead and wear the heels, because it makes me feel good to wear those heels. It makes me I like the way it looks. And I don't know. It's like I feel like it's who I am to wear heels, right, Shady?
I think so.
I think that
It
works
sounded
with my
like it.
personality type. And I think anyone who has some weird physical thing like that, if you look at that item of clothing and you say, yeah, this is me. This is me. This is really me. Then wear it. Wear it and don't listen to what other people have to say. Okay, Shady, if I could get you to turn off Wi-Fi on the Instagram connection, we're having Wi-Fi issues. Okay. Next, what's next? Oh, this is the best. This is actually the part of the show that it's top right. Pull down on the top right. Yeah, there you go. This is the part of the show that I have been looking forward to the most. You guys know that I do a special thing where if you're one of my first 1,000 reviewers of this podcast on iTunes, I will try to do you a favor. And I want to emphasize, I can't always say yes. I am not guaranteeing that I can definitely 100% do what you would like me to do, but I will try. I will do my best. So a couple people have asked for shout outs. So we have Carly Carr. She says, just making sure I'm in the first 1,000. I don't want any favors, Jen. Just give me a shout out on your podcast. Carly Carr, you got it. Again, I read every single one of these reviews. I say hi to Carly Carr, everyone. So yeah, actually, you know what? She's so sweet. Leave a comment. Leave a comment saying hi to Carly Carr, Karley, and then Carr like Carr. So here's another one. Here you go. This is what happens when you're a first 1,000 reviewer on iTunes. So I got an email. This lovely woman says, she says, my husband and I own an artistic blacksmith company. Would you give us a shout out on your podcast? And she's so sweet. This is how sweet you guys are. She said, like, it's only if you like it. She's like, if you look at it and it's not for you, no pressure at all, but would you just check it out? I guess that was sort of the favor is, would you check it out and see what you think and maybe give a shout out if you like it? Well, guess what? You guys know I don't have sponsors for this podcast. Google me and some of the things I have said. If you wonder why, it's nothing like, it's Catholic stuff. It doesn't, doesn't get you tons and tons of sponsors. So guess what? My sponsor for today's episode is my first 1,000 reviewer fan here. Okay, so greenhowhandmade.com is the website. And see, this works out. This works out because I looked up greenhowhandmade.com as a favor, for this first 1,000 reviewers. And honestly, I was like, oh yeah, you guys are the sponsor of episode 66. Please go buy some wonderful ironworks from Greenhow, and it's spelled like it sounds, greenhowhandmade.com. So my issue with them, if I have a critique, if I have a critique, I think they're undercharging. So this is a handmade ironwork door pull thing. It's only $35. Guys, you can double that price. So
Steal.
yeah, you listeners, they're going to take my advice and double all their prices because this is their blood, sweat, and tears going into this. They should be charging a higher amount. But listen to this. So I don't know whether this is her or her husband who wrote this. So whoever wrote it, they do these reflective blog posts at greenhowhandmade.com, the sponsor of episode 66 here on This Is Jen. Listen to this. I think it's her husband, and I'm sorry if I'm misgendering you here. I'm assuming that your husband wrote this. As a self-employed artist, you have to constantly be adaptable. Be adaptable with your work, your designs, your finances, and yourself. And if you have anyone depending on you, they must be adaptable as well. I really love the anticipation I feel when I start a new project. I approach every project with the mindset, this will be the best thing I've ever made. This mindset can make it hard to be adaptable. I've had to learn how to be adaptable and still not sacrifice my main goal, to make something beautiful that someone might cherish and will last longer than me. Isn't that beautiful?
I love it.
That's beautiful. I'm
Buy
so
everything.
moved by that. Right. And this was a first 1,000 request. And I'm like, well, now this is amazing. Like I'm learning, I'm getting wisdom and fine handcrafted iron products at greenhowhandmade.com. This is tremendous. But this is a great point. So he says, I approach every project with the mindset, this will be the best thing I have ever made. And whatever you do in life, whether it's you're cooking dinner for friends, you're having a party, whatever it is that you do, when you have something that works well. And so this is really near and dear to my heart with my sketches. Oh, I didn't mention that one of my sketches went viral. I was on the Good Morning America homepage all weekend. Did you see that,
Yes,
Shady?
I
I
did.
sent it to you. So one of my sketches went viral. It's the Flying with Kids one. And so Good Morning America picked it up. They called me for an interview. It was really cool. And let me tell you that when you have something that works, like, wow, that sketch really worked, it's easy to let that get in your head and to then suddenly say, well, I don't know if I want to do another one now because, like, what if this doesn't work like the other one did? And it's so important to have the same mentality that they have at greenhowhandmade.com to say, this is going to be the best thing that I've ever made. And again, and this, even those of you who aren't artists, this could be with having friends over for a party. Maybe a lot of your neighborhood came out the last time you had a party, and now you're thinking, well, I don't want to do it again. I don't know if it's going to work as well. You're limiting God's abundance. Maybe God is calling you to have a bigger impact than you can imagine. Maybe you're supposed to start a whole big, massive neighborhood block party, and just having 5 people over was just the beginning of it. But if you get in your head and you say, well, gosh, the last time we had people over, it went so well, is it going to work as well next time? Well, then you probably won't do it again, and you're limiting yourself. And so the attitude that they have at greenhowhandmade.com is, this is what we all have to have. I'm always telling you, put yourself out there, give it a shot, try talking to that neighbor, try making that thing, try doing that artistic endeavor, just anything that you feel moved to do, just try it, And when something works, we don't usually talk about that part. We talk about the risk, we talk about what's scary, but what happens when it does work? Well, it's easy to get in your head and say, well, shoot, now I can't top that. Now I can't do it again. And sometimes it will work out that way. Sometimes you'll have a big hit, and then the next thing you do doesn't really work. But then you try again, and you try again, and you try again, and you're limiting God's abundance. You're limiting God's blessings by not assuming that what you do next might be your best yet. Because it might be, you don't know the future. You don't have a crystal ball. The thing you do next might be your best ever thing. And I can't emphasize how important that mentality has been for me. I'd be twice as insane as I am right now if I did not have that mentality. So that was a first 1,000 review request. By the way, I'm almost at 1,000 reviews. So you're just, the window is closing. And I emphasize again, I can't always there are some requests that it just does not work with my schedule. It's asking me, it's something that I just cannot work in right now. But if there's any way I can do you a favor, I will. Maybe I'll just do all podcast sponsors.
There you go.
Like it's
All your
all 1,000
fans.
reviewers. Yeah, you know what? The corporations don't want to work with me. Fine. I just shout out my fan stuff every episode. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do rotating sponsors. I'm not getting paid anything, but this podcast is remaining independent. Those of you watching live on Facebook and on YouTube, please hit the like button to tell the algorithms that people just really enjoyed this fine live broadcast. Hit the like button, leave a comment. It's always great to hear from you guys. And I'm going to Tampa soon, like day after tomorrow. I will be in Tampa. You guys are my publicity arm. So tell 5 people
Get to work
about the show. Yeah, get to it in Tampa and Omaha, and you can take $10 off. I think it's $10 off each ticket. And I'm really excited about this. This is a fun experiment. jfcomedytour.com is the website. JF stands for Jennifer Fulweiler. jfcomedytour.com. And we will be adding dates. The reason why we only have 2 now, and this was so sudden and everything's crazy, is because it is the Wild West here coming out of COVID. Being in the live event space and going into, the post-quarantine world, it's just wild. So wild things are happening. We're taking risks. We're trying new things. So you will be able to see the new cities that I add at jfcomedytour.com. Shady, you can cue the exit music. Thank you so much for joining us. I have an alarm going off. It just paused the live video. Okay. All right. Well, we're figuring it out. My point is made. Thank you guys so much. And I will be back with you next week live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at 2:30 East.